Of course, I'd like to start out by thanking all of you for coming out and doing this again with us. You know, been doing this for a long time, and I know it's a lot of the same faces, but it's very exciting to me every year to see all you guys back. So I just want to thank the golfers especially, the people that just come for dinner, my family, my wife's family, my wife very specifically, because honestly we wouldn't be doing this if she wasn't around, because she does at least 40% of the work. So that was a joke. I had you all roped in. You were waiting for me to say 95, and I said 40. I'll be here all week. Anyhow, no, honestly, I do appreciate it. But this year I'd like to talk about courage. Not the kind that allows you to kill spiders or try that new vegan mayonnaise, but real courage. There's something we'd all rather not think about, and trust me, I'd rather not either. But tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. The stats are clear. 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women will face this disease at some point in their life. And over 500,000 Americans die each year from cancer. To me, real courage is the ability to take whatever life throws at you, and instead of letting it wear down, turn it into a strength. Through my journeys, I certainly haven't acquired the power to heal, nor have made the kind of money to make all worries disappear. But I can still offer our most precious resource, hope, which cannot be undervalued when facing the longest odds of your life. In 1993, 1 year before I was diagnosed, a college basketball coach named Jim Valvano, who many of you might know, got up in front of a crowd of 1,000 professional athletes and reporters and gave the quintessential speech on cancer research. In a raw yet beautiful display of human emotion, he reminded us there are 3 things we all must do every day. 1 is to laugh, 2 is to spend some time in thought, and lastly, to have your emotions bring you to tears. He playfully jested that would be a pretty full day. Jim died less than 2 months after giving that address. In 20 years, the V Foundation has raised more than $120 million for cancer research. But more importantly, he showed unmatched courage, even in the face of his own demise, to spark a movement and give hope to so many. Now, don't get me wrong, we'll never be confused for the V Foundation. But to me, the work that's done at Fern Hill each year is no less important. For the last 13 years, all of us in this room have selflessly offered support and hope to our fellow man. It can be weary and facing a seamlessly never unending battle uphill. Last year we met Eli Engelbrandt and his family, and our hearts and minds were reminded why we started this in the first place. Ava Ferguson is 9 years old. She is the oldest of 2 daughters born to Norman and Andrea Ferguson. In the fall of 2010, Ava was 6 years old and on track to begin 1st grade. The family had just given birth to Sophia, who was merely 2 months old at the time. I know I can speak for many of us in the room when I say this is a crazy, wonderful period of time for any family. To this point in Ava's young life, she showed no signs of health trouble. On September 17th, 2010, the Fergusons' lives would be forever altered. It started with an innocent tummy ache, but after a few weeks of multiple failed tests, ineffective antibiotics, and the fact that Ava was oddly sleeping sitting up, all helped kick Andrea's motherly instincts into high gear. They took her in for a chest x-ray, and the technicians were shocked to find that her lung had collapsed. Her breathing quickly weakened. She was rushed in an ambulance to a more appropriate facility as life-saving efforts began. Once arrived in the ER, a tube was inserted to relieve the fluid from her lungs, as well as a BiLAP applied to help her breathe. At the time, the doctors involved thought this was the worst case of pneumonia they had ever seen. It would actually turn out to be much worse. Ava was put on a ventilator as she could no longer breathe on her own. Within the next 24 hours, fluid was drained from Ava's lungs until the point that they could get a clear CT scan. With what short relief seeing Ava's lungs finally clear would bring, was quickly dispatched by the softball-sized tumor that remained on the screen. Imagine for just a moment, not 48 hours ago, your beautiful, young, innocent child was holding her new baby sister. Now imagine laying at her hospital bedside as a ventilator is the only thing standing between you and the unfathomable. Ava was rushed by ambulance again to Children's Hospital of Michigan. Saturday, September 18th, as testing began, the Fergusons were told they would have to wait 2 long days before any results would be available. Monday, September 20th, T-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, or more importantly, cancer. Maybe it's cliche to say that these words are something no parent would ever want to hear, but I can still see the night of my diagnosis crystal clear. After more excruciating testing, it was determined that Ava's cancer was advanced to a stage 4 and had spread to her bone marrow and abdomen. Now, I've only been on one side of this situation, so I couldn't dream of this happening to my Alex or my Natty, much less as fast as it did to Ava and her family. Through all the fog of desperation and confusion, Dr. Jeffrey Taub emerged, as only he can do. By now, most of you are familiar with his work, but this is a man who could never be thanked enough. Under Taub's care, Ava would spend 8 more impossibly long days under a ventilator. Andrea and Norman were made by her side, playing her favorites, Hannah Montana and Justin Bieber, painfully hoping just to hear the little girl say, "Mom," or "Dad," one more time. As the chemo started to take its effect and the tumor began to shrink, it was time for Ava to breathe again on her own. The ventilator was removed. Still, the physical and emotional toll this took on Ava would not allow her to speak for 2 days after it was removed. And if things weren't heartbreaking enough, it was now time to give Ava the news. She would spend the next 2.5 years receiving chemotherapy treatments and all the difficulties that come with them. Ava would miss all of first grade and 85 days of third grade. Even more tragically, in that same span, the Fergusons would lose 3 members of their family, 2 of them to cancer. In January of 2013, with only 4 weeks remaining in treatment, Ava was hospitalized with the flu virus multiple times. She was hospitalized a 3rd time in February for the flu once more. It was very clear there would be no coasting for Ava. Though as tough as life had been on this little girl and her family, she fought through it and received her final chemotherapy treatment on February 17, 2013. On March 1st, 2013, ironically Justin Bieber's birthday, Ava's tests all came back NED, no evidence of disease. At this time, I would like to present to you Ava Ferguson and her family. While Ava's journey is not over, and life is certainly forever changed, the courage Ava, Andrea, Norman, and Sophia have shown is truly unmatched. Not only did this traumatic event broadside this family, but let's not forget the needs of little 2-month-old Sophia during this time. Cancer can be most devastating to a family. The stress toll taken emotionally and physically is unbearable at times. But hope gives you strength, which breeds courage. And it's why we gather here each year, to show support and remind each other how precious life is, and to offer hope that one day we will rid this world of such an awful disease. Jimmy was right. If you laugh, cry, and spend some time in thought, that is a pretty full day. My wish is that we've not only made today a full day, but help make tomorrow and the next day as well. It's certainly not easy to put on an event and raise money each year, and it takes its toll on all of us. However, when you see the courage of Jimmy, of Eli, of Ava, and the thousands of other children and their families out there fighting this disease as I speak, it puts everything in life back into proper perspective. The motto of the V Foundation is don't give up, don't ever give up. I think we all can agree there couldn't be a more appropriate message. Thank you all again for coming to Ava's Gift 2013. If I get Eli up here real quick, not going to forget you, buddy.
Look at you.
We got a little gift that we're going to present here, and Eli, last year's recipient, is going to do the handoff this year. Oh yeah, I also wanted to mention, as strange as it may sound, they're both actually from the same school. Eli's a little bit younger, but they are both in the same school, ironically. It wasn't planned, I promise. We also have a couple other gifts here planned for Ava. And Sophia, of course, we wouldn't forget her. Oh, Eli, we didn't forget you either, buddy.
Oh, you're all set now, aren't you? Turn around and show everybody. Show everybody what you got.
Not so much.
How about you, Ava? Open yours, Ava. Turn around. What is it? It's an iPod. An iPod? An iPod Touch. Oh, wow. She said Sophia's not touching this thing. What do you say?
Oh, you're very welcome.
Give Chad a hug, too.